Venture13 and Ditto HQ, here with the intrepid Marquis Murray. Today, we're going to be talking about something I think is really interesting, which is how to optimize LinkedIn for your business purposes. I think for me, LinkedIn is probably one of the more effective social media platforms that I've used personally in my career for networking, etc. I've always been like a premium subscriber. I think there's a lot of very interesting functionality there. I'm really excited to hear from Marquis today. So I think what we're going to do is go through Marquis' presentation, and then I think if people want to raise their hand or if they have questions, they can throw that in chat, and we might also have an open Q&A at the end. But anyway, we're so glad to have all of you here. There's been a lot happening. I think we always keep a really positive outlook, but let's be honest, these are incredibly disruptive and disorienting times. And we know from our clients, and I'm sure you know yourselves, that we're facing a very difficult challenge. We like to talk about digital transformation, pivoting a business, going from like a physical storefront to online. That is not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination, and we know that. But for those of you that are embarking on a new pathway, a new trajectory, we're hoping that this series and the community of Venture13 can help you adopt some of the best practices, get moving, possibly accelerate your development. That's what we're aiming to do, and to play a role in your success. So I'm just really excited to be here. We had to go to the minor leagues. Lauren and Erica are away, so I'm with you today, but I'm excited to pass it over here to Marquis to talk about LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks so much, John, and thanks to Northumberland CFDC for hosting today. I wouldn't say you're in the minor leagues at all, John. You're doing great. Thanks for that intro. And good morning, everyone. So we have about just under an hour here. Just want to go over a couple things for you. So obviously, we're all here to learn about LinkedIn and social selling and how to increase our engagement on the platform. And so I'm really excited to share about this because LinkedIn is one of those tools that I use in my business every single day, and I can say is probably the biggest, game changer for business and social selling, especially during the events of the past few months, COVID, and staying connected with people. And so today we'll be covering three things mainly, and then we're gonna kind of go down from there. So optimizing your LinkedIn profile, marketing yourself and your brand on LinkedIn, and then using automation for good and not for evil. All right. So my promise to you is that at the end of the day, you'll walk away with tools and strategies needed to market and grow your business on LinkedIn in this new unfamiliar world, and that you'll leave with a step-by-step plan to optimize your LinkedIn profile so you can start using it to connect, engage your audience, book meetings, and close sales. And so just a few housekeeping rules. Please ask questions. You all have the ability to unmute yourselves and ask a question. I'll kind of throw that out there. If you could please leave your microphones off so that there's no background noise unless there is a question. If I have questions, I love when there's a dialogue. So please respond if you feel more comfortable using the chat. The chat is up, and John and I will be monitoring that throughout our talk today. And then third is I want you to think about how you can apply these methods to your business. It will look a little bit different depending on your expertise level with LinkedIn, how comfortable you are with social media and social selling. I'll be thinking about how you can apply these things in your own business. And then the last thing is if you have any technical issues, just send a message to the chat, and John will do his best to help you out. All right. So let's jump in. My name is Marquis Murray. I am the now co-founder of Ditto. We're a systems and processes agency focused on creating order for sales systems, marketing systems, operational systems to make the lives of business owners easier. One of the things that we do for for operators and owners is help them to reduce bottlenecks in their business by documenting systems and processes. And so today we're talking about a marketing system that we could implement for anyone's business. And so over my years, I've had the opportunity to work with companies like Walmart, Home Depot, Carter's, and Oshkosh, and even Pine Sol, helping them create both content for their platforms, but working with their companies to create, SOPs, marketing strategies, paid advertising, whatever it may be. And that's where I've really spent my time over the last 15 years, both in the agency owner space, as an employee, and as a freelancer. And so, for me as a marketer, one of my passions is like staying current in what's happening in the world of AI and digital media, and always optimizing, right? I'm also a dad to twin boys, and I love hanging out with my family. We're actually from Coburg. We moved here a few years ago, and so it's nice to be in this community and sharing with people from this community as well. So let's jump in. Social selling on LinkedIn, really go hand in hand, like peanut butter, and jelly, bacon and eggs, fall and pumpkin spice lattes, but in order to, get things moving, you need to know how to use LinkedIn to sell, right? And there's a lot of guides out there, a lot of, tips on things to do, but a lot of them don't actually give you the down to the wire, the secrets, the actual methods to do some of those things. And so that's what I'm going to be showing you today. And so whether you're a LinkedIn, selling expert, a newbie, or you're somewhere in between, you should walk away with some knowledge of how to engage, interact, and sign new prospects on LinkedIn. And so before we go anywhere, I really want to start at the beginning, right? By optimizing your LinkedIn profile. So people will see your profile, and this is often the first thing that they see. This is your first impression that they're getting of you and your company, right? So this profile should convey your understanding of the platform, how to use it, as well as your understanding of marketing and connection, as well as the position you're trying to build is one where you are an expert in your field and you can provide some value to the people that you're hoping to connect with. And so unfortunately, this is a huge miss that I see in a lot of cases where people are not optimizing their LinkedIn profile. They maybe started it 3 or 4 years ago and they abandoned it and they just didn't think to go back and do anything, and it is hurting them. And so the first one is your profile picture and background image. And this section I'm kind of going to rifle through because I really want to get to the good stuff. But it's important to use, high quality images, right? It's recommended that those photos be between, 400 pixels wide by 400 pixels high. But the bigger, the better, just so you can get a really crisp and quality picture of who you are. The next is to ensure that your profile is visible to everyone, right? If you have Instagram, maybe you can have a private profile where people have to request to see you. You might not want to do that on LinkedIn because the point here is to network for business purposes. And so if you actually go into your profile, you can edit, your public profile URL and your visibility so that you can become public, so that anyone searching for a key term in your industry, searching for your name, they can see you. And then that third thing is to choose a background image that represents you or your company, right? Really show that passion, show that connection to the brand there. So this is what it could look like. This is really a preview of your profile. So once you're on your profile, if you go into the top right-hand corner, you can click on a link that says, edit custom URL. It brings you to this page where you can do a couple of things. You can change that URL right there, and you can change that visibility to on, and who can see different things on your profile. So if you can only show your profile picture to people that are connected to you, you're potentially missing an opportunity to connect with the larger network. So I would say that's the first thing you want to do is update that. So we're gonna play a little game here, okay? Start things off nice and fun. So if you were searching for someone, at a quick glance, we're searching for Michael Scott, right? Who would you pick? Are you gonna pick the guy that's looking away from the camera, like he doesn't care? Are you going to pick the person that has no profile picture or the guy that's smiling, looking directly at you, right? Maybe someone can type in the chat. Which one should we pick? No one's interacting yet. That's okay. We're getting warmed up. First one. Yeah. First one, number 3. Yeah. Either one of those, right? Not the person in the middle, right? And we obviously know why. But for fun, let's click on Michael Scott, the drummer from Toronto, Canada. So this is Michael Scott, musician, drummer from Toronto, right? So question, would you connect with this person, right? Would you engage with them? Is there anything appealing about this profile page? The answer is no, right? What about this guy, right?
There he is.
Okay. You're getting ahead of me. Yeah, this is Prison Mike, right? For those of us in the office, right? So maybe he has a profile picture, but it's not the greatest picture. He's missing the background. His bio doesn't have much information there, right? And so would you want to connect with this guy? Right. And the last thing is, if you're using a picture from your high school prom, or, it's 30 years ago and you look very different, it's probably time to update that picture. All right. So next we'll move to that headline and summary, right? So your headline, describes what you do in about 120 characters or less. So be original, be creative here, be clear, and really be informative. Make sure that your headline, includes, relevant keywords to your industry, as it makes it easier for people to find you if they are searching on the platform. Your profile, if optimized properly, will more than likely pop up, right? And last is keep that summary brief and interesting. Again, use those keywords and update your summary regularly as, new things happen in your career, new certifications come under your belt, be adding those things to your profile. Where are we now? There we go. And so lastly, like that summary section, can also help you by, adding high quality media. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second, but you can link videos here, images on your profile so that people can get an instant understanding of who you are, what you represent, and what your content looks like. Actually, one major trend that's emerging right now on LinkedIn is people are starting to focus on their future goals and ambitions instead of, only listing past achievements as well. So in that headline, instead of saying owner of ABC company, it is future owner of the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know, right? Like, so what you're aspiring to do, where you're headed versus where you are at right now. And so this is what it could look like, right? It's clear, to the point, the use of keywords, and, the image choice is questionable here versus, something like this. Great profile, it's descriptive, personable, company information is there, and your own brand is really mixed in as well. All right. Next, we want to move to workplace skills and experience. So one thing that I want to point out is that you don't need to list every job you've ever done, right? This is not a resume. This is a digital snapshot of your career. So you want to list things that are more relevant to your current position, right? If you had a paper route when you were 16, maybe you can keep that off of there unless it relates to the specific job that you're in right now, right? People don't need to know the full history. They just need to know that you are experienced enough to help them. Next is really endorsements. Endorsements are those little things that, your network can provide you with that helps to solidify your thought leadership, you as an expert in that industry. And it's often good practice to list less of those endorsements or skills, so that people really know that you are a specialist in one area, right? If you are in the manufacturing space, but then you have a skill of juggling and 100 people, like that skill or endorse that skill, and only one person endorses your management skill, then what impression are people going to get of you, right? And always make sure that you're updating this session at least a few times a year. So here are a couple examples of what your experience could look like. That's mine. I do some part-time work with during college and Loyalist, just teaching social media courses, but there's my business background and any experience that relates to what I'm doing right now. Here's another one from a colleague of mine. Again, he's a co-founder of a design agency. All the work there relates to design. There were jobs before this because I know this individual that had nothing to do with it, so there's no point again to put them there. So how do you get there? So if you scroll down on your profile, you get to the skills and endorsements section, and up in the right-hand corner, just right there, you can add that new skill. And as people come onto your profile, you can ask for endorsements. They can, give them, just say, yep, they are proficient in this. And so the more that you list that are specific to your niche, the better. And as new skills are acquired, guess what? You can add them to your profile as well. So your URLs and recommendations. So we're going to talk about how to edit your personal URL now and what recommendations look like. So I want to point out that all this stuff here is indexable and searchable by Google, which is why this is so important, which is why your headline and your summary should include keywords. Any endorsements and recommendations will include those keywords, because when people are searching for your name or these industry terms, you are more than likely to come up in them. So we want to make sure that those are optimized. It's always best practice to use your name as well in your LinkedIn URL. And if you don't know how to change that, I'm going to show you here in just a second. The last point is to ask for recommendations as you're going along. If you do work with any partners or any organizations, ask for those recommendations, because obviously most of the time, if you don't ask, you don't get. And so here's an example of what it could look like. Oh, well, that's weird. John Hayden. So John Hayden gave a recommendation for Marquis. So we worked with Marquis on a launch on the past fintech product, which required a savvy custom approach to digital marketing promotion, blah, 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 blah. All these amazing things about Marquis. Thanks, John. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And then other recommendations there as well. And so if you are visiting someone's profile, there's one of two ways that you can do it. On the top section, you can ask for, you can go to more, and if you click down to recommend, then you can leave a recommendation for them in the hopes that they will write you one back as well. The other way to do it is to ask for that recommendation on your profile page. They leave one, and then you can approve it, and then it is added to your profile as well. So when it comes to editing your LinkedIn profile URL, this is what it looks like. So mine currently is linkedin.com/in/Marquis A. Murray, right? Really easy to digest. A is for Alexander, is my middle name, because Marquis Murray was taken. But on your profile page, you edit your public profile URL, and you just follow the descriptor here and expand upon it if you need to. Curious if there are any questions so far about anything before we continue on here. All right, so we're going to move on to marketing yourself and your brand on LinkedIn. So as we're talking about this, because we do a lot of marketing through Ditto, we always want to ask our clients, what is the purpose of doing this? Why are we marketing? Why are we going to use a certain channel? And what do we want that outcome to be? In other words, what are your goals for using this channel? So I want you to think about that if you haven't already for your marketing, because you're really doing two things here. You're marketing both yourself, your personal brand, and your company. And so there needs to be an even split of what that looks like. And so right off the top, write articles, right? If you are an expert in your field, you should be writing articles letting people know all of that, tribal knowledge, all those things that you possess that they may not, right? So having an article is a good way to increase, that professional credibility and improve your thought leadership position, right? And again, LinkedIn articles do get indexed by Google, right? As long as they're on your profile and your profile is public, anyone searching for, in this case, the contents within your article, they will come up in Google. So it's just another way to get your name and your brand out there. So, writing an article and publishing it to your profile, can help you to, develop a routine, again, thought leadership, but in a specific niche topic. And so what you want to do is, pay attention to, the pictures that you're using, right? Because that high quality imagery will help you to stand out, right? Your titles should not exceed, roughly 60 characters. And that's just because Google said we don't like anything that's too long. And if they can't read it in a search page, then they're more than likely not going to show your content, right? It's also important to use relevant hashtags, right? Hashtags or keywords, so that when someone is searching on LinkedIn or on Google, they can find you by that specific hashtag. And linking popular and often used hashtags as well on LinkedIn is another way to get found. Right? Another trick that I sometimes do is if there are thought leaders in your space or colleagues or any influencers, you can tag them in your post, right? You can ask them what they think. You can get the comments started by tagging people in the comments and drawing eyes to your content as well. This is a great organic way to market your new content and get some eyes on it really quickly. So this is an article that I published in March, and this is the only one that I've done on LinkedIn since, because I chose to take my blog to another platform. But this is what articles will look like. You can find people's articles if you go to their profile, click on their activity, and you can see those articles there. And then once you actually link into it, it's really well laid out, right? So you've probably seen a lot of these if you're kind of in and about LinkedIn. Some people choose to have their blog on their website, or they use a platform like Medium, right, to publish their blogs. But here are some things that you can do really, really quickly to better market yourself on LinkedIn. So number one is to post daily updates, right? You should aim to post at least once a day, on LinkedIn, to keep your connections, up to date on latest industry content, anything you've been up to, anything you've been reading that you want to share with them. You can post that daily. And remember, there is such thing as the 80-20 rule here, for social sharing. 80% of your content should promote the industry, talk about news, or something that is helpful or educational to your audience. It should not be all self-promotion. You will turn people off to you sooner than you know it. I got a question here. Should your posts on LinkedIn be different than your other social media pages? That is a really good question. I always say yes. The theme can generally be the same, but the content should be tailored a little bit differently. If your connections and your people you're connected to on LinkedIn are within a specific niche, they're going to want to hear a different message than the general audience that may be on your Facebook or your Instagram. So I would say custom tailor it to the platform. Yes, definitely. Good question.
Can you just explain the difference between the default setting to relevant content in your stream versus recent? Because there's a relevance algorithm and people can be posting, but their followers might not be seeing it, right?
That's right, yeah. In the last slide, I talked about, tagging people in the comments, asking them questions, getting that conversation.
Yeah. Real engagement, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you are posting daily and you're getting relatively low engagement numbers or no one's engaging with it, LinkedIn will see that as not relevant to your audience, and the algorithm will actually work against you, right? So that's a really good point. Thanks for that, John. It's not so much about the quantity, and it just sounds so cliche, but it's really about the quality of your content and getting back to, is it helpful? Is it informative? Is it educational? And are people resonating with it?
Right. Is it organic, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Number two is develop a daily routine. I mean, posting every single day can seem really daunting until you break it down. This doesn't have to be an all-day thing. This can be 15 to 30 minutes out of your day, right? Some people like to read the news when they get up and they're eating their cereal, right? You can spend 15 minutes reading an article or a few articles and really skimming them, and whatever you take out of that, you can take 5 minutes, right? Craft a post and share that with your network, right? And then maybe you spend, 5 to 10 minutes reaching out to some prospects or reaching out to people in your network, sharing it with them, right? Commenting on their posts, right? This does not have to be an all-day thing, but it should be one of those tasks that is, recurring, right? Every single day, you need to be consistent with that. Number three is include your brand, right? It's easy to forget that, social selling on LinkedIn is about connecting to your prospects and connecting them to your company through you, right? Not the other way around. I mean, if we are, I'm forgetting every big brand in the world right now. Walmart, Air Canada, right? Like, they've done a good job of building their brand, so we know who they are. So when they put out a post, we're going to resonate with that. But for a lot of times, small and medium-sized businesses, they don't yet have that clout. People want to connect with a human being. So often we channel them to our companies through a real face, right? So it's important that you mix in your brand's voice. And keep that tone in mind when you're conversing with anyone on LinkedIn. But it's important that consistency is key. Number four is joining in LinkedIn groups, right? So right off the bat, LinkedIn, by a show of typing out the word me, how many people are currently in LinkedIn groups and are active in those LinkedIn groups? I'll wait 5 seconds. Brenda, awesome. Nope. Okay, anyone else currently active in LinkedIn groups? Me, good. Nope. We're at 50% so far. Anyone else? I'll wait another 5 seconds. Nope. All right, so the nopes win. Okay, so yeah, that's totally fair. And a lot of people aren't, because it's one of those things that, again, it takes time. I know we're talking about social selling, and you'll hear me say it several other times throughout this talk, is that it's really about relationship building. So what's great about LinkedIn groups is that it lets you join 50 different groups at once, right? And you can, once you're in there, like the groups that I'm a part of are obviously marketing related, because I'm a marketer, right? So it would make sense that I'd want to connect with like-minded people. But in these groups, they are closed off unless you meet certain requirements. But you can be in a group of potential customers. You can comment on their posts. You can ask questions. You can submit your own posts, right, to further cement yourself as a thought leader. Right? You can send messages to members of this group without even needing to be connected with them, right? And all of a sudden, you're not someone that's trying to sell to them on LinkedIn by sending them an email message. You're a member of a community, right? So it's important that you're both adding value and receiving value through these. And then if the opportunity presents itself, to take that offline or to take that to the direct message and to further the relationship. But LinkedIn groups is one of those often overlooked areas where there is a lot of potential to engage with your core audience. And the last thing I'm going to say is be personable, right? So remember, even though we're using an online tool in this process that is social selling, it's not automated selling, right? So do your homework. Do your homework on anyone that you're reaching out to. Provide a personalized message or piece of content that you think would resonate with them. Because here's the thing that we often don't think about, and it's that people are really smart and they're more savvy now than they have ever been, right? They know when they're being sold to, and they don't like how it feels, right? It feels really, really impersonal. And so because LinkedIn is software, you should make an even bigger effort to, personalize, your breakthrough or your initial message so that you can stand out to that connection. What I'll do is I'll typically take, 2 to 3 minutes looking at someone's profile after I connect with them or before I connect with them. I'll visit their website, I'll read their about section, I'll take a look at their services. If there are any accolades, awards, I'll make sure that I'm aware of those things. And so that just gives me, added touch points and more depth when I craft that response, right, to that person. If I just come off and say, hey, we have the same, connections, and, I give a really blanket statement, then it's not going to be as valuable or as personable as, hey, congratulations on that award that you won last year. How did you do it, right? And people love talking about themselves. So if you ask questions and if they know that you've taken the time to get to know them a little bit, they're more than likely to open up. All right, I'm going to jump into automation in a little bit, but I'm just curious, are there any other questions just on marketing, how to go about it, what not to do? Any questions so far before we move ahead?
I think that's, Marquis, just want to say, I think you really captured this, the nature of like how non-explicit, how indirect, how organic, how human to human the interactions on LinkedIn are. This isn't like principally like a platform for direct sales. It's, yeah, and I think it's interesting because, like, to me, LinkedIn is like intrinsically it has this nature of being a place of like reputational or social capital. So a lot of this is really personal. I mean, yes, we have company pages and the extension of brands and so on, but really it's about champions, ambassadors, evangelists, people, right? And there's also this like personal reputational element of it, so which can be eroded if you don't use LinkedIn in a way that's like natural and organic, if you will.
That's
so
right.
like, I just have a quick interim question for you. Maybe it's on other people's minds, but there's sort of like a culture of LinkedIn as well, which is interesting. So there's like an unspoken sort of rule about, let's say, neutrality, professionalism, and the apolitical. And it's kind of interesting at this moment, like if I think of some of the most effective local LinkedIn users from Northumberland, for example, I think of somebody like Marcia Smoke from Moccasin Trails. She's like really active, constant updates, amazing content.
Yeah.
And she's not afraid to talk about Black Lives Matter or, Indigenous rights or what have you. And some of that is very, like, LinkedIn is unused to this kind of explicit political discourse, if you will.
Right.
But yet, at the end of the day, even if you disagreed with her, you still have to admire her for being a leader and having principles that she's not afraid to speak to. So I'm wondering, like there's a bit of a shift happening with LinkedIn about the permissibility of certain discourse, if you will. And there's this question of like, how do you protect like your professional reputational equity on LinkedIn while also advancing like the company's like commercial interests, if you will, but also balancing it against your personal reputation.
Right. Wow, that's a big question.
Sorry, that's just like a total meta-philosophical tangent to throw at you.
It's really good. Yeah, when it comes to like transparency and personal brand and company brand, I think that they're synonymous. I think that if you stand for something, that should be visible, anywhere that you are, and you shouldn't be afraid to talk about it or stand for it. I know that there has been of late, especially, an entire movement dedicated to corporations being more transparent, right? And talking about what their impact in the world is, and there are organizations that really help corporations to figure out what that is and to communicate that message effectively, right? And not just be, capitalists, but like talk about how we can be conscious capitalists as well, and give back to the world and give our money and time and resources to these organizations. So I think if you are going to be talking about your company, your brand, I think that there is a time for both of them. getting back to that 80-20 rule, like if you're putting out 80% that is newsworthy, helpful, informative, educational, and that 20% are those things that you're really passionate about, and people can connect to the two, I think you're doing fine there. There was a time where, you know, LinkedIn was strictly business. It was, I'm looking for a job, I have a job for you, or, you know, purchase my service, right? It's much more about professional relationships and creating those so that over time people can understand who you are, what you stand for, and what your brand stands for. So I really think that there are synergies there, and there should be when we're talking about things that we're passionate about.
So excellent, thanks. Like super quick side question, like back to reputational equity and professional networks, like should you accept anyone who wants to connect with you even if you don't know them? Or is it important to like have a network where you can actually speak to each other's credibility?
Good question. I don't think I have a straight answer for this. I think it depends on, like, personally, it depends on the day for me, right? If someone wants to connect that is in a completely different industry, is not at all in my client avatar, I mean, you really have to like think, like, is there benefit to this relationship, right? And I think you just have to like weigh that out. But there are plenty of connections that I have and we all make that, you know, flourish into something else, right? We have this first, second, and third connection, you know, through 6 degrees that happens because there are these people in between, right? So I think you shouldn't be closed off to any opportunities, but it's important to engage or spend the time with the opportunities that are going to be beneficial to you and your business.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most interesting things about LinkedIn is like how unpredictable and unpredetermined the potential collaborations can be that will arise through that network. It's actually pretty powerful. But anyway, Marquis, carry on with the conversation. Thanks for taking the tangent with me.
Yeah, no problem at all. So our next section, and really the biggest point of this all here, is using automation for good and not for evil, right? This actually gets me really excited because this is why I love LinkedIn. Obviously, there's the connections we make, but there's so much more behind it that people often don't realize. And so what is LinkedIn automation? So, you know, as part of the sales process, LinkedIn automation frees you to focus on it, initiating conversations and relationships, you know, building interactions, right? Manually visiting profiles, sending contact requests, and following up with messages are easy tasks when you have 2 or 3 leads, but this obviously becomes increasingly difficult when you start getting into higher double digits. And so what we're really doing is automating a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. And so why LinkedIn automation, right? As you can see on the screen here, you know, as LinkedIn, you know, and other social profiles become more relevant as a preferred channel for young professionals to connect to network, traditional sales prospecting channels like outbound emails and calls become less effective. And so cold, unsolicited emails are often deleted or reported as spam, right? Google, you know, and other email service providers are often, you know, they're always, getting, you know, better detecting automated emails, sending them directly to the spam or junk folder. And so here's a stat for you. Email deliverability is not where it used to be. You know, there was a 17% drop last year, and we can expect those numbers to rise throughout 2020. So deliverability is the rate at which an email is actually sent to your inbox and doesn't bounce or go to spam or go to a promotions folder. And so those numbers are on the rise because emails are becoming less and less effective. So here's a screenshot that I took from my inbox yesterday, right? So these are the types of messages, you obviously get them as well, right? These are the types of messages that are either getting, you know, filtered to spam or going straight to that promotions tab in Gmail. And if you don't have those tabs active, I urge you to activate those because it will make your life so much easier. But it's becoming harder and harder for those to come through. So here's what you don't want to do when using LinkedIn. You don't want to be...
Marquis, sorry, can I just say, like, on that previous point, it just ties into something else you said, which was really interesting.
Sure.
Which is like, if you get a message that starts with, "Hey Marquis, great session today on Zoom, bricks to clicks, that was awesome." And then, or like, "I love what you're doing with Ditto, saw your post from last week." And then you launch into it, it totally changes the likelihood of like a interaction, right?
Yes.
But I think the time for these canned, like, cold spam messages is surely over, like, for email marketing.
Yeah. It's definitely there, right? And like, unfortunately, people got really smart to that. They switched it over to LinkedIn, and then they started abusing it there as well. So I'm gonna show you like what not to do, what like you can do, and where you can really go with it. So what you don't want to do is, endorse someone on LinkedIn that you don't know, right? You don't want to pitch your company in the comments. You don't want to do any self-promotion, obviously, right? Sending a high, sales pitch right after someone, connects with you. Sending up a follow-up message over and over again, or even scraping and sending emails to their personal addresses. We don't want to be doing things. So here is what you should be doing instead, right? So visit that LinkedIn profile. Send that request, and if they're interested in your offer, they'll accept it, right? This is a big step from those cold emails. It's definitely more personable, and it's not spammy. You also want to follow up with those new connections, right? This can mean engaging in their content by liking or leaving comments, tagging them in posts that you think would be helpful to them. You want to treat prospects or users, kindly, right? See prospects as your friends. How would you, build a strong relationship with a new friend, right? There's videos circulating where you wouldn't just like walk up to someone on the street and ask them to marry you, right? That just would never happen. There's time that needs to be taken. And so we're gonna wait and pause for a second, right? So before we take a look at what this looks like, I want you to understand that if this next section I'm going to talk about is done poorly, you can end relationships before they even get started, right? If abused, LinkedIn can even penalize you, and in some cases lock you out of your accounts. Again, if you get nothing else from this, social selling is about being social, right? Which on LinkedIn is about creating value through content, quality content, and engaging with other people's content, right? There are certain actions that I'm going to show you that should never be automated, right? And we're going to explore what those look like right now, because we do not want to be spammy. So here's a quick example of automation done wrong. Okay, so this person sent a message to me, and so it was, "Hey Marquis, can Ditto handle any more clients?" And this was sent with a connection request. And there's my response. "Definitely one of the better openers I've seen lately. I'll bite." And I thought, I know this is automated. I do this stuff as well. But the next message was, "Awesome!" exclamation point, no space, because they used the field kind of tag for my name, but they didn't put a space in it. "Glad to hear. I see from your profile that you provide some really valuable services to clients in systems and processes for agency owners and operators who want to scale their procedures while reducing managerial workload."
So they took that from the company description?
That is word for word from my headline, right?
Yeah,
so that's obviously automation done wrong. There was another snippet that they took, and then there's a period, 2 spaces, exclamation point. Sentence isn't even finished yet, and I'd love to help you do more of that. And then I didn't respond. And she said, "Are you interested to learn more?" Obviously I'm not, because you're saying that you're going to do this thing for me through automation and you can't even do it yourself. So this is automation done wrong. I deleted this connection because there's no value that will be added, and obviously they're doing it wrong. So don't be this person. And there's her name if you want to go check her out, but go for it. Before we start, where are we at? So be honest, right? One of the things that I want to point out is that we're really sometimes really so excited or anxious to get out there, make that sale, talk to that person, and give them everything that we have, right? We need to really slow down our pitches, right? So be honest, be genuine, Know what you're selling and sell for the right reasons. Again, give value by delivering relevant content, actionable advice, and information. Understand their pain points, move to solving those pain points. Don't just promise, right, to solve those problems. You want to provide a well-detailed strategy. You want to build trust by connecting with them and with them emotionally and putting their interests first. And then the last one is that personalization is key. Stop using cookie cutter sales scripts and templates. And we're going to look at that right now. So how does automation work on LinkedIn? So notifications are used to more or less hook users, right, and bring them to the platform. And then social selling engagement triggers shows notifications to them. And the truth is that most people are addicted to those notifications, right? Those little red badges, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, and you're drawn towards them. You have to know what's on the other side of that, right? So if I were to go and visit your profile, send you a message, invite you to connect, right? Those are all things that are going to draw you to the platform. And what automation does is, instead of me doing all of that manually, LinkedIn does it automatically for you, right? And these actions result in, a new user. Maybe they'll come visit your profile. They're going and checking out your website. They're reading your about section, and they're learning about your brand, right? So in other words, LinkedIn automation triggers notifications that initiate varied responses, is what it is, all right? So here's what it looks like. So in this case, a profile view was made. I made a profile view. One day had passed, the connection request was sent, with the initial message. So in this case, at the start of the year, mine was, hey, looks like we know some of the same people and follow similar pages. For 2020, I said that I would get more active on LinkedIn and start networking with like-minded people. Would you be open to connecting? Thanks, Marquis. And I put their name in there as well. So they confirmed it. This individual said, love that 2020 mission, right? And for me, this is where the automation ended, right? I made that connection, sent that message, and then it was thanks, name, personal brand. And as you can see from the bar up here, there's a slew of other messages that we went through. We're actually connecting. We connected back in February. We're reconnecting next week to work on a project together. And so it's really taken all of this time to build this relationship, but this is one of hundreds, right? So it does take time. Here are a couple
Actually, yeah, Marquis, like one of the few sort of automated messages I've responded to recently was an entrepreneur I hadn't talked to in a while. Just sent her out a short message saying, just checking in with everyone, like during COVID-19, to make sure you and your family are safe and well, or something like this. And I was like, I thought that was a nice sentiment, because yes, it was automated. It was sent to his network, but then he immediately like jumped on when I responded to it. And it was just nice. It was short and sweet, but it like restored a connection, someone I hadn't talked to in a few years. So like there's a way to do it. It's a bit of an art, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely like right ways and wrong ways to do it. And like, obviously that was one of them, that it's timely, it's relevant, right? And it's sensitive to what's happening right now. And so like, obviously you're going to respond to that. So,
but I knew at the same time, I knew it was automated, right? So yeah.
Again, people are smart, they're savvy, they know what it is. But if you can't, expand on it from there, then, you're dead in the water, more or less. Right. So I mean, here's another example, that I sent back in February. We're talking about HubSpot. We're both HubSpot partners. We connected there, right? We had a conversation. We have had several conversations. I've been on his podcast, and he had some webinars that I was doing. He came to one of my webinars. And so there's this relationship that's built there, and we've had opportunities to connect each other to other connections as well for different business opportunities. This was another one. I switched up the messaging a little bit, where I said, hey, quick question. What would you say are, 2 of your top 5 things that you dread doing, right? It's not about sales at all. This one was a bit cheeky. He said, hey, Marquis, first off, I hate stupid people. Second, I hate wasting time. And I thought, straight to the point. I like it. Or maybe I should read between the lines, right? So, no, I wasn't talking about you. But again, this individual invited me to a mastermind as well, where there are other like-minded agency owners. And I was able to connect him with another connection of mine, and he was recently on her podcast as well. And so it's really about that relationship building and just staying top of mind. One of my colleagues, one of the people that works with me, her name is Kate. This is what hers looks like for Ditto, right? So, hi, blank, do you know how much time your company is wasting each week on operational inefficiencies, right? If you got a message like that, what are you gonna do? Respond to it with, yes, I'm amazing, or no, I have no idea. And so there are quite a few of these that are going out daily. And then again, once this message is responded to, the automation stops. And then Kate jumps in and she's able to respond. And so our goal here is to book meetings by sending them to an internal assessment page. So it's a piece of content we created, we feel will be valuable to this audience. And we've done the research to figure out who this audience is. So how do you figure out that audience? This is what it looks like. So you can either use your own LinkedIn, or you can use LinkedIn's Sales Navigator, which is a paid platform. You can search and filter through hundreds of different options, right? Where you can really define and build your audience and set parameters for the people that you want to connect with in your business, right? And once you've filtered through that list of profiles, you want to generally understand that they are in your network, that the content you'll be sharing is relevant to them. And so once you've created that filter and search parameters, what you're going to do, and this is where everything gets super technical, but this is what I love and why I love this platform, is you actually copy the link to this page. So you have, in this case, how many people are there? I can't actually read it. 12 results is what it's showing. But in some cases, you'll see 1,000 results, you see 1,000,000 results, but you really want to get defined on who these people are. So you copy the URL to this page, and then we go behind the scenes, right? So this is a program that I use called Meet Alfred, where it does all the automation for you. It's showing you on screen here what it really looks like. You're building a campaign where, in this case, you're taking that link from LinkedIn and you're putting it into your automation tool of choice. And what you're telling it to do is to view someone's profile. So once that profile view is made, you can add in that 1 or 2 days passes. Once that connection request is sent, you can tell it what message to attach to that connection request. Once they've confirmed it, right, the message was responded to, and then the sender, you in this case, responds, and again, that automation ends. There are really bad ways to do it where the automation just keeps on going, and again, you become spammy, and if people aren't interested, you're gonna know nice and early that they're not interested. But you keep on going, and again, this is one of those areas where you can really harm those relationships by not being personable. And so Meet Alfred is one that we love. There are others like Duck Soup. Octopus.io is another, but this one, based on usage and research, has been the best, most transparent one, and has enabled us to book meetings, close sales, all on an automated basis, semi-automated, I'll say.
Yeah.
So again, LinkedIn automation can help you to build your network of leads, followers, brand ambassadors by creating profile visits and all those kinds of things, right? So it should be used as a tool, again, for good, not for evil, right? Number 2 is it can help you give value to your network, right, at scale. So automating really reduces the time you spend, doing mundane social activities that, sales automation can help you to handle. Again, if done properly. And so this creates enough time for you to deliver more relevant content to your network and provide a better experience overall. And then the last is, helps you to build your presence, number 3. So the network effects are what keep us all connected and enable our brands and social presences to grow. And so when your network engages with your content, their LinkedIn networks will now see that they've engaged with your content. And this serves as social proof and makes your offering more valuable to others. So we're getting close to time here, but obviously I made a promise to you. I would love to know like what your thoughts were, but again, just to stress that there is a right way and a wrong way to do this, right? And then the last point is, you know, start out slow, build consistency, do not jump all the way in. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And over time, what will happen is both your audience and the algorithm will start to pick up on these patterns, right? And this is when you'll really start to see your engagement grow, but not after you've taken the time to build your platform, build your clout, and build your trust with those other connections. So I'd like to open it up for questions if we do have that time. Hey, thanks, Chris. You're very welcome. If there are any questions, love to take them now. You can take yourselves off mute if you want to, if we got a few minutes here. And if not, then I'll hand it back over to John. Just wait 5 seconds. It's always an awkward 5 seconds.
That was a great presentation, Mark. Yeah, thank you so much.
There we go. Over to you, John. Thanks so much for having me. If you did want to get in touch, you can use that link there, thinkditto.com/marquis. That brings you right to my booking calendar. I'm offering to anyone who's here today a 15-minute chat. We can talk about anything you want to. If you want some more clarification, you can email me, whatever the case may be. But thank you so much.
That's awesome, Marquis. Thank you again. Just a couple things. Like I wanted to give a shout out to our marketing intern, Hannah Mackinac, who's with us on the webinar. Hannah's one of our 2 amazing interns that we brought in, part of the virtual nexus of COVID-19, Venture13 this summer, but we're really pleased to have her, graduate of Wilfrid Laurier, really multi-talented from graphic design to digital marketing. Great skill set added to the team. And we have another young man named Osafat, who is from Ontario Tech, and he's also part of our intern team this summer, and we're just really pleased to have them. So thanks for being on the call. I wanted to mention quickly that we have a new program, many of you may have seen this, that launched last week called Re3, Rebuild, Reopen, Revive. And this is a non-repayable, performance-based contribution to women-led SMEs that are returning to operations, pivoting to new opportunities, purchasing PPE, getting that transition plan back to full steam. So I'm going to put the link in the chat section here so you can find out more about that program. And you can apply now. We're doing continuous open application. This is up to $5,000 in the form of a non-repayable grant contribution. So it's a pretty timely and interesting opportunity that we're really excited to bring to you. And finally, I'd like to thank Marquis and maybe like the Dark Mirror Universe version of Marquis, who's on Hootsuite and Shopify instead of HubSpot and Squarespace. And thank him again for bringing his considerable expertise, experience, panache to the community here. I learned a lot. LinkedIn is an incredibly subtle and complex platform, so lots of tips and tricks, but a lot of insight and analytic insight to boot. So thank you all for being with us for the 4th installment of Bricks to Clicks. And as I said, or as Marquis said, he's available to connect and do follow-up sessions. And as always, get in touch with us if there's anything we can do to help support you in terms of financing or strategy in your entrepreneurial development. Thank you all for being with us and looking forward to seeing you for the next session. Thank you, Marquis.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, take care, everybody.